Welcome back to Take Action News, everybody. David Shuster here, along with Daniel Marins and Rich Webster. Thanks to everybody who's listening over our syndicated stations all across the country, but also over TakeActionNews.com, WeActRadio.com, and also over Take Action News TV, our YouTube channel. If you've missed any part of the program, want to have the video sent directly to you at your convenience, you can subscribe for free. YouTube, go to YouTube and look for Take Action News TV. So Daniel Marins, what exactly
about our YouTube channel? Because I think we hit a milestone.
Oh, that's right.
And that is that we are the champions. We were in a sort of we didn't discuss it on air, but we were in a contest with Bill Scher's Liberal Oasis TV. And I think at this point we can say it's okay for you to visit Liberal Oasis TV on YouTube to see which show would be the first to get 1,000 subscribers. Yeah. Now, Liberal Oasis had been on YouTube for many months more than us, many months. But we believe that given the quality of Take Action News' content, and of course, the fame and recognition of the great talent that is David Shuster, we believe that we could overtake him and be the first to get 1,000 subscribers to our YouTube channel.
And yet it was a close race. It was pretty close. I'm not so sure. Not neck and neck. Not so sure about the fame and notoriety of Mr. Shuster, although maybe notoriety. But yeah, the fact of the matter is we did great, because a number of people told us when you start this YouTube thing, it's going to take you several months. It's going to take you several months to get your first 1,000 subscribers. And what happens is when somebody subscribes, they get the videos delivered to their inbox, a couple each day. And it just takes a while, because a lot of people, I had never subscribed to a YouTube channel until we started this. So we start up in mid-December, and we're like, all right, let's see how long it's going to take us to get to 1,000. And it took us only about 6.5, 7 weeks. In the midst of that, we found ourselves running neck and neck with Bill Scher, a great program on that David Pakman helps produce, Liberal Oasis TV. And we said, all right, let's have this competition, see who can get to 1,000 fastest. Neck and neck. He jumped out in the lead last weekend, and then we poured it on, because we know how to run a media campaign, right?
That's absolutely right, David. we left no rock unturned. I signed up grandparents. I just went to the nursing homes and the I don't know, the homeless shelters.
Yeah. So anyway, for everybody who's out there, by the way, and we're sort of joking around with the subscribers, but this is the new way of media, and that being able to watch videos and hear things at your convenience. And you can look at YouTube anytime you want on your handheld device or laptop. You don't have to be sitting in front of a TV. And now we're proving you don't have to rely on television for high quality network standard broadcast news. That you've got some veteran journalists, veteran broadcasters who are bringing in the news right here on YouTube, and that's a great opportunity for you to catch up on the news each week and hear about the latest issues. One of the latest issues, Daniel Marins, that we want to talk about is something known as climate weirding. What exactly is that?
Climate weirding, David, is the erratic weather that researchers have long been expecting to be associated with sort of global warming. In other words, when we talk about climate change, it can be a confusing topic, because we think of it as climate change generally as another way of describing overall warming of the planet. And that is certainly true. We talked about it previously on the show with experts like Brad Johnson, that 2012 was the hottest year by far since records were kept, that we're seeing the average global temperature go up, and that if it goes up another 2 degrees, we will experience extraordinary problems in terms of droughts, in terms of rising sea levels, in making it very, very difficult to inhabit the Earth. But what is sometimes confusing is why that would lead to overall more erratic weather. And one of the reasons that it does lead to more erratic weather, and something that sometimes people call climate weirding, is a phenomenon known as a sudden stratospheric warming event, okay, which happens when more sea ice is melting, and as a result, there's a sudden warming of the oceans and the Gulf Stream in the Atlantic Ocean in particular, and as a result, following that event, there is typically frigid, cold weather. And we had a sudden stratospheric warming event starting on January 6th. And that is why, very shortly thereafter, in mid-January, we began to have an extreme frigid cold streak. Now, this was explained to me on my favorite environmental policy website, grist.org, in an article by Philip Bump called How to Respond to People Who Say the Cold Weather Disproves Global Warming. Now, he gives 4 reasons. I just gave the most complicated reason, which is that after an extreme stratospheric warming event, there is a cold front that comes through. And we were experiencing warming due to overall, what scientists believe was sort of the overall pattern of global warming. But then once that warming passes, there's cold air that comes through and stormy cold weather for a number of weeks. But there are a number of other more conventional explanations for why the recent cold spell doesn't disprove overall global warming at all. First reason is it's winter. And it's January. These are pretty normal temperatures for winter. In fact, one thing that I can just say anecdotally is, okay, it dropped down into the 20s at certain points in Washington, D.C. and New York in late January. Well, that's actually the way winter, that's pretty normal on the whole for past decades of winter. We've actually been having extraordinarily moderate winters in recent years. I've not been able to see whether those I think that scientists do think that those more moderate winters where we haven't been experiencing snowfall, things like that, those are a phenomenon of climate change. Those are the rule. This has now become the exception, but it's actually really just a sign of weather being occasionally normal in this warming atmosphere. And another phenomenon out there is that it's important to understand that weather is not climate.
Right.
So what you experience day to day may not exactly reflect the overall pattern over the course of years or even decades. So it's important to look at the overall curve of the temperatures that keep on going higher and higher. James Hansen, a climate scientist from NASA, uses the analogy of loaded dice. So the weather is the result of a roll of the dice. Now, if there's climate change, those dice are a little bit loaded and more disposed towards certain kinds of weather, but it doesn't mean you will necessarily get that weather every day.
It's a great analogy, and one of the things that we see come up on Fox News and others, and some meteorologists say, oh my God, for example, several years ago when we got record snowfalls in Washington, D.C., and a lot of conservative media said this is just proof, therefore, that climate change couldn't possibly exist if we have so much snowfall. But that's a basic misunderstanding, lack of knowledge about basic science, because what happens is when temperatures rise, and ocean temperatures rise in particular, that causes more moisture in the atmosphere over places like North America. And when you have more moisture in the atmosphere, and then, oh, by the way, you have your sort of normal courses of cold fronts that come through, the amount of precipitation then that gets dropped is greater. And that's why you have these freak snowstorms, or that's why you have a freak superstorm like Sandy or Katrina. All of these freak storms, you can't make a direct correlation that, oh, climate change caused Hurricane Katrina in particular, but the incidence of these freak storms, the ferocity, the viciousness, the intensity, by all accounts, that is a result of things like more moisture in the atmosphere, climate weirdness, the climate having more extremes. And the climate used to be a little bit more predictable, a little bit more within certain parameters, and now it's not. And I think that's the main message from people who want to talk about climate change, and then to try to get, it's difficult talking basic science with people who don't want to believe it, or who just want to say, oh my God, well, because it's 15 degrees in January, that must mean that we don't have global warming. Well, no, I mean, it's going to get hot in the summer, it's going to get cold in the winter, and that really doesn't have anything to do with climate change. That's just because of our orbit and because of how we face the sun, depending on whether you're the northern hemisphere or the southern hemisphere each time of various points of the year. That's not going to change. But again, it's like almost, for example, putting a magnifying lens on a driveway. It burns. When we were kids, we used to burn ants that way, just because we thought, oh wow, this is cool, let's burn an ant with a magnifying lens. It's the same principle with weather, and that when you inject more precipitation, when you inject warmer temperatures into the oceans, more precipitation into the atmosphere, it's like putting that magnifying glass on the driveway, and it magnifies the impact. It doesn't mean you're going to burn the ant, or that if you have the right angle of the magnifying lens that you're going to be able to do what you want. There are a lot of other circumstances that have to line up, but when those circumstances do all come together at once, you do have storms like Hurricane Sandy, Hurricane Katrina, huge dumps of snow in places that usually don't get it. That's all we're saying.